We're going to take a look at dividing fractions again, and we're going to use two different methods to figure it out, and both are okay. The one that you're going to see in middle school most often, and the one that most people use is, we looked at it last time, it is the keep, the change, and the flip method. Basically what we're doing is we're taking a division problem and we're turning it into a multiplication problem. So I'm going to do that way first. We're just going to do a really simple fraction. We're going to take 1/2. Oops, sorry about that. We're going to take 1/2. We're going to divide it by 1/3. So when I keep, change, and flip, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this fraction first one, I'm going to keep it. So down here, I'm going to write 1/2. Then I'm going to take this one and I'm going to change it. What am I going to change? Well, I'm going to change this division sign to a multiplication sign. And I'm going to put that down right here. Multiply. And then I'm going to take this, I'm going to flip it. What am I going to flip? Well, I'm going to flip this fraction to its inverse, or I'm going to use its reciprocal. And so the reciprocal, or the inverse of 1/3 is 3/1. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to put it right down here. And so that's my new problem. I took this division problem and I turned it into a multiplication problem by keep, change, and flip. I keep the first fraction, I change the sign, the division sign, to a multiplication sign. So I keep the first fraction, I change the sign to a multiplication sign, and I flip the second fraction. And then I have a new problem. 1/2 multiplied by 1/2 multiplied by 3/1, or 3/1. So I take the numerators and I multiply them, and I end up with 3, and I take the denominators and I multiply them, and I end up with 2. I end up with an improper fraction. This fraction is small enough where I can actually pull out the 1, so I'm going to look at my denominator down here, and it's a 2, so I'm going to pull out a 1, and I'm going to pull out minus 2/2, because that's how many, my whole is split into 2 pieces, so I'm going to pull that out, and it's going to equal 1/2, so I have 1 and 1/2, okay? Now, that's one way to do it. But there actually is another way to divide fractions. That's a shortcut way, and so we keep, change, and flip, but now we're going to take it and we're going to do it a little bit differently. Instead of keep, change, and flip, we're going to take 1/2, and we're going to divide it by, and I'm going to put it up and down on top of each other now, we're going to divide it by 1/3. Now the cool thing about this method is you already know how to do it. The only thing different is I find my common denominator, so I'm going to count by 2s. 2, 4, 6. I'm going to count by 3s. 3, 6. They meet right here at 6, correct? Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 2 and I'm going to get my common denominators now by using the identity property multiplication. I use 2 here, 1, 2, 3 times. So I'm going to multiply this by 3/3. Then I'm going to multiply the 3, I used it 2 times, 1, 2, and I'm going to multiply that by 2/2. So in this method of dividing fractions, you use the same exact process. You use the same, I don't know why I keep doing that, sorry. You use the same exact process as the other method. So you go as adding and subtracting fractions. So 2/2, and I end up with 1/3. I end up with 3/6 divided by 2/6. So you just multiply the numerators, and then you multiply the denominators, and I end up with this one. I end up with 3/6 divided by 2/6. Now that I have common denominators, all I do is I take the left numerator and I put it over the right numerator. So I end up with 3. I end up with 3/2. Alright? Just like I did with the keep, change, and flip method. And then I pull the 2 out, and I end up with 1/2, and so I have 1 and 1/2, the same as the last method. Okay? Now let's take a look and see why that works. Alright? Well, we can always equate what we do to whole numbers. And in whole numbers, when I have 2, when I have 3 divided by 2, It's really 3 over 1 divided by 2 over 1. All right, and in my regular numbers, in my whole numbers, I do have common denominators of 1. So if I get a common denominator with any other denominator, it's going to work the same way. I put the left numerator over the right numerator, so I end up with 3 halves. All right, we're going to take another look and see how this works. Let's take one more, and we're going to do another video that does the same exact thing. And I hope this helps, and you can do division of fractions 2 different ways, and it's kind of interesting. Either way is correct.